So now we're going to process the irises, and I wanted to talk about iris anatomy because I've come across a lot of people complaining about having received irises from traders or sellers that either the rhizomes are extremely tiny or the rhizomes are not very healthy. So yes, it's true that some irises are not very healthy, such as this one, but as you can see, it is very tiny. However, if you look here, you see there's growth. Honestly, these irises has not been they don't get a lot of treatment. There's no nutrients come into the soil for them. So basically that's the reason why these irises, they are tiny. However, there are growth in them. So what I do is I trim the roots of the iris, and you can see here there's new growth. There's new growth here on the iris, and when you process them, you want to cut out any excess or dry part or dead part. And with that being said, when you cut the irises, you want to cut it diagonally upward, and it's gonna turn out to be like an arrow, like that. So the iris here, there's new growth, there's growth, and here are the growth. So these are not very healthy irises. They are as big as my thumb because they haven't been given a lot of nutrients. However, these are good irises because no matter how small, this one is like at the tip of my thumb. No matter how small the iris is, as long as you see there is growth here, there's new growth right here. If you treat it correctly, you will get growth from the irises. And yes, in the back of the irises, there are old roots, there are holes, and it looks very dry. Well, these irises hasn't been watered for over 3 weeks, so yes, they are very dry. So that's one way to see if you can get the iris and you can trade with other people. You just have to tell them that the irises that you have are tiny and they're not the healthiest one. But so you trim away the root like so. That way there's not a lot of excess roots. And this one is a good example because it has dry part here, part of the iris. This is what I call is the mother rhizome. As you can see, there was a bloom here. Generally, I don't send out mother rhizomes because people will complain and like, why are you sending me crap? But as you can see here, there are one growth. So I don't know if the camera can focus correctly. There's new growth here, and new growth here. So this mother rhizome is trying to produce 3 new plants. So this one is good to actually trade or send out to people, but you have to make sure that there's new growth. So 1 new growth, 2, and 3. This one is dominant because this one, if we water it, if we keep on watering this iris, this will become a new stalk, this will become a new stalk. But because we stop the process of watering it, so the growth is stopped, and we dried it out. You can see here that there are dry roots, and if you take these dry roots and you pluck it out and you clean the iris correctly, the dry roots will actually leave holes on the iris, on the rhizomes. and that is okay. See, these are wet root, which means that they are still alive, right? But these here are dry root, and of which I had just pulled out a bunch of dry roots because I when you're shipping the rhizomes or you're shipping the plant out, the weight of the plant or the weight of the rhizomes really matters. So you want to clean it right. You don't want to just send people junk and crap and have them planted. But that's how I see it, and that's how I clean out my irises, my rhizomes. I don't know how other people does it. Different people have different theories of how they handle things and how they tray. But generally, you don't wanna burden people, and you don't want to give people, you know, things that you possibly don't want in your yard. So here are this rhizome here have a lot of roots. These are baby roots that's wanting to come out. So with these roots, I'm just gonna cut it and leave about an inch. And whatever root that is dry, I am pulling it out to make sure that I don't pull out the wet root, because the wet root needs to be on there, because that root is actually the root that's going to actually give your iris nutrients whenever you put them in the ground or soak them in water to wake them up. So again, you trim it diagonally upward and make it into a pointy like an arrow. So this rhizome here is a perfect example. It's actually as the size of my thumb, but it is very healthy, and you can see that there is new growth right here. And essentially, if you put this on the ground, it will produce this plant here, this rhizome here will give you flowers, and this here will give you one offspring. So that is a great example of a good iris where you can actually trade with other people. Now when you try to clean up your rhizomes, you want to make sure you take all the dry leaf off. And this one is a good example of a mother rhizome with two offspring. So here, this rhizome here that is drying up is the mother rhizome. The mother rhizome actually produced two babies, and even though her babies are big, but because the baby didn't flower this year, hopefully when you put it in the ground next year, it will flower for you. So what you do is you divide. So it was like this, like a trio. So what you do is you break this apart. That's one rhizome. And then you break this apart. That's two rhizome. Generally, I would check to make sure if there is new growth or other offspring from the mother rhizomes before I throw her away. However, this is very flat. There's no new growth, right? Because she has been supporting her twins over here. So I throw her in a garbage because she doesn't have any life left in her. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim her twins' roots, and then I'm going to trim the leaf upward diagonally and making it into like a arrow sign. So generally I go in and I pick out all of the dry leaf. Okay, this one here, I call it dry roots, right here, dry roots. And I'm going to take the dry roots. I'm gonna pull the dry roots out, and I leave all the wet roots and make sure that it's extremely clean. This way it's easier for the iris to go into dormancy, and you don't have a lot of like access where it's hard for the iris to dry when you store it in the winter. And so basically that's all you really have to do is take out the dry root, the dry leaf, trim back the fresh roots, and then diagonally cut it upward and make it into a arrow, and then clean out any excess leaf so that way it doesn't maintain or retain a lot of dirt, and it's easier for the iris to dormant in the winter. And I also try to go in and clean out any dry roots that the rhizomes have in order for it to not create a lot of, like, if you have a lot of excess thing, it might create mold in your iris. So you don't want your iris, you want it to completely dry out if you're storing it for the winter, and you don't want to have too much access of a lot of roots and stuff like that. Like this here, you want to trim it, make sure it looks nice, and brush off all of the dry roots. So the dry roots here, break it off. The mother rhizomes right here, there is no offspring to her. Wait a minute, this may be an offspring here. This one right here, this is the offspring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it back, and I'm just going to see if that will grow, but whether or not it will grow, it's really it's okay to me because I have a lot of irises. So basically here, go in, take out all the dry roots, make sure it's all clean, nice and easy. You do not want these to get wet, because if you get them wet, then you would have to put them in the ground right away, within a day or two. So here are a bunch of rhizomes here, and these are, so here's the mother rhizomes, here's the baby rhizomes, they are dry, so these are dry roots. You pull the dry roots out, right? Pull it out. So you want to make sure that if you're storing it or shipping it, you want to make sure that they are as clean as possible, because you want to make sure that you don't accidentally send any disease to other people's garden. So this one right here, it looks like it was infested or eaten by some kind of insect and create a hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to check. I probably will not send this out to anyone, but to keep it for myself. So this one thing you can see that is the mother rhizome, because it actually had a stem right here, and it die off and it dries up. I don't think this is going to produce any new irises for me, but I just going to put it in the ground or in a pot just to see. I like to test things out. I like to, push the limit, as people would say, but I don't think that one's gonna flower. But I wanted to see if it grows it like into an iris if I put it in the ground. So here again, you just trim the roots back, and then here again you have dry roots. You want to go in with your finger and plug the dry roots out, and then you want to take all of the dry leaf out, and then you cut it diagonally upward, and like so. So that's what I do with my irises, and that's what I am going to smell out to people. So it's as big as my thumb. It's not very big. Like I say, these irises were not taken care of. They don't get a lot of like miracle grow. They don't get chicken manure. They don't get banana peeling water. They don't get any of the good stuff. They've been out in the front and they've been neglected. And they were like the batches of iris that we had previously, and we are now trimming them back and try to cut back on having the iris here in the front. So this one is a perfect rhizome. This will bloom when you put them in the ground, and they're perfect condition. There are, you also wanted to go in and make sure that you don't, track in a lot of dirt and stuff too as well, because you want the iris to go into dormant. So you don't want them to have a lot of dirt around them, otherwise they're gonna grow in the box. If there's dirt, they don't go into dormancy. So pluck out all of the dry roots, and this is what the hole that's left behind from the dry root. So I like to keep things clean as possible. That way it keeps down the weight of the shipment, but also it doesn't bring any disease or anything to my customers' garden or to my friend's garden. So I actually, some of my irises that I have, I actually do sell it online, some, but majority of the time I actually give them away to friends and relatives. So try to take all the dry root out, because the roots are dead. It doesn't make sense to keep it. So I just don't care to keep it. So I'm just going to actually take the roots out. That way it helps the iris to go into dormancy. So this one here is an offspring. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. It's offspring. So when you put this in the ground, this will become the mother rhizomes here after it blooms, and then you have an offspring. So those are the good iris that you want to send out, actually, because people will be so excited to receive that, because they know if they take care of it right, then they will have an increase. Now, sometimes I send out irises like this for prices because when you don't pay for shipping and you don't pay for the irises, and you don't pay a lot for the irises, and I want to send as many as possible, so I do send these little ones out. These little ones are great for you to grow, and they actually will give you, like this one here, it doesn't matter how tiny it is, you can tell that there's an increase here. There will be an offspring. So this is a little baby one, but if you grow it correctly, it will flower for you. And my experience, the tinier the irises are, the better I'm with it, because I actually like the tiny one, because it just enhance my skill of gardening, right? Like, not only that I have to be patient, but I have to know what I'm doing in order for my iris to bloom and to be healthy. So I learned a lot by growing tiny irises and growing irises that no one wants, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time to care for them, and then you also learn a lot from them, because you then know what they like, you know what they don't like, etc. And generally, the smaller they are, I grow them in pot, and they are easier for me to take care of in pot versus in the ground. Like the big ones that I have to put them in the ground because they're too big to be put into the pot. So, but the tiny one, you put them in the pot and you can control the area, control everything, and it's easier for me. It's easier to maintain because it's in a tiny pot, and then it grows. But the thing with growing it in the pot is that the flower is tiny. The flower is smaller than the flower than the one that you grew in the ground. Believe me, I have been growing the same iris in the ground and one in the pot, and the pot is very, very small. So here is the mother rhizome, and here are two offspring. So what I'm gonna do is I am just going to keep it like this. I'm not gonna break it apart. I don't see that there's any new growth in this mother rhizome, but I'm just gonna let it dry like this and keep it with the mother's rhizomes, because this one here, it's only have one leaf, so that means it's very weak. And this one here, it looks like it's been eaten up by some critters or something like that. So I'm gonna keep everything in the mother rhizome, so that way the mother rhizome can nurse it to health when I put it in the ground or when I grow it. Now, this one here is actually one rhizome, and it has dry roots, it has dry rhizomes. However, it's very interesting. You have to pay attention to detail, right? Sometimes I don't pay a lot of attention to detail, either, because I'm just like whatever. However, so the reason why this one is interesting is that you can see the layer of leaf that I took off here. So there's 1 layer, 2, 3, 4 layer of leaf, dry leaf that I took off. And here, normally you look here or here or here or here for the increases, but this one is very interesting by fact that the increases is right here, and right here is where it was broken off by the mother rhizome. So therefore, that's another reason why that I like to take out all the dry leaf from the irises, because what happened is that you can get this one here, and you might break it off here and you don't see that there's an increase here. So you have to pay really close attention to your plants, otherwise you won't be able to experience or know exactly what your plants is doing. So that's something that is crazy. It's like, hey, I check here on the side, I check here on the side, there's nothing, and here's the dead part, let me break it off. So this is what I'm gonna do. This part here is dead, so you're gonna have to break it off for real, and trim it back like so. So that way you don't bring any disease to your rhizome here. And it's okay to cut it off like that, but as you can see here, right here, there's an increase. There's a little bump right here, and there's no increase right there. So this one is a very tiny one, and it's very weak, but hey, it's beautiful. It has an increase. So I'm happy with what I have. I'm gonna quickly turn off the video and quickly process, because I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bags of iris that I need to process. So I hope my video helped, and I hope that you have a better understanding of the irises, and make sure that later on you don't have to worry about sending you spend the time, the money, the effort, and you end up sending out bad rhizomes to people, or you end up having to waste your time growing the rhizome that is not too healthy, and it will die on you. So I hope my video helped. If you have any question, feel free to comment and ask me. And if something I said in the video is not correct, I'm also learning too as well. So please do contact me and let me know, hey, that's not right what you say, or whatever. Then I can too learn and correct my mistakes. So here's a mother rhizomes. How you know it's a mother rhizome is that there's a stalk here in the middle. And as you can see, even though it's a mother rhizome, there are increases here, here, and here. So of course, I'm going to keep her, and I'm going to put her in the ground because she's actually carried 3 babies. If I only take care of her correctly, she will give me 3 iris plant, 3 offspring, which hopefully it will not. It will probably take a year or 2 for it to flower, but it's okay as long as she can produce healthy baby. Then I am absolutely happy with that. And here's a tiny iris that I got. No matter how ugly it is or how tiny it is, it will actually grow. So if you give it a chance, it will grow just like anything. If you see a person you don't like, you know, you might not like them right now, but later on you may learn about them, and you might get to know them a little bit more, and you may end up being their best friend. So giving the iris a chance, giving yourself a chance, giving the people around you a chance will actually help. You never know what you can learn from another person, and you never know what you can come across in the future, because that person could end up saving your life, or could end up be a big part of your life. So give people a chance, forgive people, and those that you cannot forget, just forgive them and move on, because life is very short, right? And you don't want to hold on to anger or resentment towards anyone, because it only kills you or hurt you on the inside. The person that you're holding the resentment towards, they probably don't even know or remember what they had said, what's mean to you, that hurt your feelings, what they had done was wrong, and they may have forget about it already. And if you just hold on to that feeling or that anger feeling, it's only going to eat you up on the inside. So try not to let that happen to you, and keep on gardening, so that way you don't have to relieve stress, right? There's one way for me to relieve stress and learn about plants and learn about natures, and we need more plants, because if you heard on the news, I've been hearing that there's drought everywhere. Our weather has been changing rapidly. Animals are dying, plants are dying. So whatever you can grow for your family to enjoy, it's necessary to keep the earth healthy, because we pretty much need to save our environment here. It's becoming very troublesome with the weather changes, with everything that's going on. We just want to make sure that we are healthy and happy, and don't hang on to anger towards anybody, and live your life to the fullest, because you never know. The day is short. Good luck, take care. And I just want to show you here an amazing thing about iris is that this iris here has been eaten alive. It's been eaten alive. You can see there's a deep hole right here, and it's been very, like, it's about to die. However, there is good news that there is an offspring right here, and here is the main baby rhizome. So the mother rhizome is right here between my fingers right here. The mother rhizome is actually about to die, but the baby rhizome, and she's also trying to produce an offspring because she knows she's weak and she's not healthy. So she's trying to produce as much offspring as she can possibly before she goes. So that's the survival of the fetus, is you want to grow as quickly as possible. And you know, if I plants are amazing, humans are amazing, and so we just have to love each other, protect each other, learn from each other, and grow from each other. So good luck with your gardening, and I hope this helps, because no matter how small the iris rhizomes are, it's actually it's trying to survive. So give it a chance, give yourself a chance, give those around you a chance, and forgive, and live your life to the fullest, because as you can see with the pandemic, things are changing, people are changing, and people are dying. So good luck out there. Let me know if you have any questions. And I am actually going to soak this overnight tonight and put this into a small pot, because it looks like it's about to die on me here. Take care, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you for watching, and hope to talk to you later.